Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be doing a review of the Wasteland Ranger Furiosa figure. This was the first one released by Virtual Toys, the 1/6 scale Mad Max figure, and now they've managed to develop a new one for the collection as a compliment to him, which is, drum roll please, now Wikipedia is full of shit. And here she is out of the box. Now, I normally do an unboxing and all that type of stuff and show you where everything goes, but there's no need for this. I wanted to do that intro. Plus, you kind of know where the boxes are and stuff. This is the main parts of the box. You can see that the Wasteland Ranger, it's got Furiosa. It's got this knife that she uses as a gear stick on there. She's got the flame gun there. There's some decor in the background. I think that's like battered old cars and stuff. And then, of course, you've got all the explanations there. Let's not fuck about. No one wants to see the box. You've seen it. It's exactly like the Wasteland Ranger. So let's just move on. Let's actually have a look at this figure. Now, maybe fairly or unfairly, I put her up against Mad Max in the beginning. But that was just to show the difference in scale between these two figures. In all honesty, this is the biggest disappointment from this figure. Just straight out of the box. Not even trying to tear it apart, have a look at all the different nuances of details in it. Just straight out of the box. This feels more like a 1/7 scale figure than a 1/6. The head is really small. The body is really small. Even the boots and shoes are quite small. And I just, aesthetically, I really like the figure. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But just overall, the size just doesn't feel like, you know, like the Furiosa was this big metal bitch in the movie, you know. She was hardcore, she was savage, you know. She never looked like she was smaller than Max in the film at all. Maybe they tried to shoot it that way or not, but a lot of the time in the movie they shot her from very low angles at certain points to give her a scale of size and give her a scale of importance. And it worked really well, you know. She grabbed your attention. There are many films out there recently that have just gone on about these strong female protagonists, and they're really strong. I'm looking at you, Star Wars, by the way. You know, oh, she's so strong. Oh, she's so great. Again, Star Wars, looking at you. Isn't she fantastic? Isn't she brilliant? Without giving any sort of reason as to how or why they would be that way. And a lot of the time, the actresses they get to portray them, they just don't carry it very well. They always come off like actresses who are actually just actresses trying to act badass, and you look at them and they're going, I'm being a badass, and it's like, no, you're being an actress trying to be a badass. But that was not what happened in Mad Max Fury Road. Furiosa was just badass. It was quite simply probably one of the best female protagonists of the last decade in a movie anywhere. She just came onto the screen, she just had a presence. Her eyes, you know, the way she acted and conveyed, there was a lot of weight behind them. You knew shit had happened to her in her life. She was her own person. And it just worked. It really worked. And that's why everybody went nuts when Virtual Toys released or announced that they were going to release the Wasteland Ranger Furiosa figure. Because they all wanted that character in their collection. This big, tall, strong female figure who's genuinely an alluring character, an intriguing character. And I just, in all honesty, this is really nice, by the way. This figure is really good, but the sheer size of it really brings that enormity of the figure down, really shrinks it down, and it just doesn't feel like the badass that we love. As much as I don't like the size or anything, the work that's gone into this figure is really good. You cannot have a pop at Virtual Toys for not being able to get some of the subtle nuanced bits of their costume, and the actual, you know, the arm itself looks fantastic. There's articulation in the hand I'm going to show you in a minute. But the whole thing, the weathering of the shirt, I mean, I don't think it's going to show up in this video. I'll zoom right in on it and everything, just so you guys get a good look at it. But the weathering on this figure, very much like Max, in photographs, it just doesn't show up so well. but it's really, really good when you have it in hand. And I've seen this on some of the forums. Some people have been sharing their pictures on Facebook, and they've just been saying how great this figure looks in hand. Everything about it, bar the size, is good. And I have to agree, it is good. But it's just a shame they couldn't just nail the height and the enormity of the character as well as I hope they would. But anyway, let's just go on really quickly and show you what you actually get with the figure first and foremost. You obviously get her with her full costume on here. You get this new arm that they've managed to, you know, manufacture and create. It looks great, by the way. I'm going to show you that close up in a minute. You get the bone knife from the gear stick in her truck, the war rig. That was one of those little touches that you just think, oh wow, that's one of the little details that makes some of these high-end figures really a cut above everything else, is these things. And then it's really nice and weathered, and it's got a really good bone colour to it. There's a seam up the top, which is the same, but I don't know, you could just put that in as part of the actual design of the gear stick itself. And the metal around the edges is quite nice. It's a little bit like they've used like a metal strap around to hold it in. And then there's some light weathering actually on the spike itself, like it's been pulled in and out of the gear stick quite a lot of times. Yeah, that is a really, really nice accessory. And then we come down, you can see she comes again with the same handgun that Max came with. It's really good weathering, really nice grip on here. We get some nice details inside. There's still a bit of dirt in there, it's sort of like light weathering. Yeah, I think you can see that there. Some light weathering inside the actual little bolt bits here and everything. And here's the clip, it shows the bullet on the inside. That's a really good touch. I mean, sometimes they do things like pull this bang back, but it doesn't seem to pull back. I don't know if it's just stuck, maybe the paint's pushed it in or it doesn't come back. But either way, it's still a really nice addition to the collection. But you get nothing you don't get with Max already. And then we get this flare gun, and this is really good. It's got some nice rust effect on the side here. It's also got really good sort of bolt painting on the handle. It's even got the little notch on the bottom here, which could easily break off, but just be careful of that. The trigger on the inside is a different colour to the actual body, as is this part here. It doesn't pull back or anything, but it does break forward like that and come forward, and then you take it out, and then there's actually a flare in there that you can swap over. Just put it in like that, and then you can fire that at someone's face. Pooh! And then of course she comes with the sniper rifle, same thing that Max came with. Two of the guns that Max came with, he comes with her. But of course, you know, they both use it, so if you didn't get Max, I don't think you should have felt left out because they didn't give you this one. But this one actually feels a little bit well made, bit better made, because this thing pulls back a little better. The spring on the original Max one was a bit tight, and there's more weathering on the end of this figure here, on the end of the scope, than there was on the Max one. Hang on a second, let me just get the Max one. You can see the comparisons. Max is on top, this one's on the bottom, and it's really good. It's the same. You get less bullets, which is a shame. They look pretty much the same except for the scope and the amount of bullets you get in there. Maybe she's fired off a few more rounds than him. But yeah, it's a bit tougher to pull back, and it seems a little more brown, a little less dark, deeper brown than the other. I don't know if that's showing up on here, but yeah, it's a little bit different. Not much, just mostly in the paint app and the spring mechanism being a bit better. Okay, zooming in on the head, we can see that she's got her goggles on there. There's some nice weathering on these. Let me try and take these off. And there's some nice weathering around the edges. They look really good. They could probably do with a bit more dirtying up, to be honest. But they work really well, and they sit on the head nice and snug without being too tight or trying to force them on. She mostly uses them on the bike though, but still, again, it's a really nice touch. Okay, zooming in on this head sculpt, you can see that there is some really nice weathering in there, and you can actually still, hopefully it shows up in here, because I've got a really stark light on top, and it's a shame because it washes out some of the detail. But as you can see, there is really good dirt all the way around her face. The eyebrows, possibly a little too clean maybe, but still a good touch. And as you come around, you can see that they've kind of painted the hair, but it is dulled down a little bit from the thing. And I think there's just I thought that was a paint chip, but it's not. It's actually just some dust or something from the box stuck on the back of her head, which I've flicked away. And as we come around, you can still see it's quite good. The head sculpt's there. There's a slight washing out. There's always a diminishing return of prototype to factory reproduction, but I do think that they maybe could have done a little bit more to get it closer to the prototype. But these types of things, they take a long time to do, and there's only a certain amount of time, and this one seemed to take forever. So I think they did the best with the time that they could. I mean, it took so long. I think this is probably the best they could have done, really, which is a shame. I still like the figure, like I said. It's really good, and the likeness of her is there. But I'm going to get this all painted up anyway across the eyes and across the forehead, so that she's got the war rig type face paint on anyway, because I think that's more iconic. So she's going to get hidden across that anyway. So that will take away or knock down the lack of likeness there. But it still looks quite a lot like Charlize Theron, although at some angles it does look like Eleven from Stranger Things, as I said earlier. But still, I really like the sculpting of the ears. They've done a good job there. And as we come down, we can see that on the body, you can see the neck and chest area. I've managed to pull this top down a bit more because everyone was showing photos online and the top was just up across her neck here. And it wasn't showing any of the chest area or any of her collarbone. And that's, you know, that's how she looked in the movie. This is a slightly lower cut top. And I don't see why they didn't do that, but, you know, managed to get it out of the box and then show it. And if you can just, I'll try and get in close to this top. But you should be able to see all the weathering in there, all the dirt that's on there. It is a dirty top, and it does work really well. And, you know, she's a war rig driver. Everyone's covered in dirt and dust and post-apocalyptic. So it works really well. Some great stitching around this collar part here. It looks decidedly handmade, which is good actually. And then you got the sleeve here. It goes up, but it still hides the seam because there's a seam under this arm here. But it still hides it really well. They've stitched in the ruffles around here so that she's actually got the, I don't know what you'd call them, ruffles I think you'd call them. Just folded down into there across the chest. And there's still ruffles under the arm here. And the sleeve here is a bit longer. It's a really nice top, and if we come around behind at the back, we can again see there's mild weathering. There's not as much, but there is still some there, and that's a win for the top, man. It's a really, really good bit of clothing, because I was worried when they released this, you would just get this top and it would just be a really basically stitched t-shirt with no weathering on it or anything. But I've actually gone the full hog and done the ruffles in the side and the sort of pleats. We'll call them pleats. That's the word I was looking for. We'll call them pleats all the way down. And then as we come across, we can see she's got like this sort of corset that comes out from under the chest with the 3 belts. That is fantastic. They're decidedly rustic. They're decidedly chaotic in the way they've been put together. And they're just there to try and pull the waist in, and also manage to, I think they used to help strap up her arm a bit more and reinforce her torso area. And then she's got like the cloth underneath to stop the buckles from rubbing against her and hurting her. Maybe even a corset. Then we come down and then we've got the belt, which is decidedly weathered with some brass. Different coloured belt there. And they all feel like a sort of pleather. It's a bit thinner than I would have liked. But then at the same time, because this is a smaller figure, putting in thicker pleather would have made this look like he had a really big fat middle torso. And that's not the way it should be. And of course you come down and then we've got the trousers. We've got this, the Furiosa belt with the adornment, we'll call it, metal adornment on the front. And oh my god, is that awesome. That is nailed perfectly. There's some nice weathering on the pleather there. Well, I say, some nice strapping, and it comes down, and all the metal chains. They could do with a bit more weathering because they're decidedly non-weathered, but we can deal with that when we come to it. I can do a bit of weathering myself. And then we come to the trousers. Now the trousers, I'm not entirely sure how these worked, because I'm pretty sure in the movie that they were just sort of like I don't know what fabric they were, but they just had like lines stitched into them. I don't think they were pleather stretched over fabric and then done like this, so there was gaps pulling them open and things like that. I don't recall that. You know, I don't remember everything from the movie. I'm sure these guys study it more than I did. But then it comes down, and then around the knee area is where it ends. It comes down to these nice, again, fabric trousers, black trousers, and then we get these really nice stylized boots that work pretty good. They're okay, they're not amazing. There's not a sugar ton of detail you could do with them anyway. So the fact that they were able to get the detail they did is really well. And of course this part here straps up the top of the boot to hold the boot closed, because I think it was maybe loose or something. Not entirely sure why that was there, but it was there. And it's all these lovely straps, and these have the buckles on, and this is like a pleather material, really well made. And you have to pull this up because it was down the bottom here earlier, but you can pull this up and stretch it onto the top of the boot again, which looks much respect to them for actually doing some of the details they've done in this. They've really sort of captured the style. And we come up to this sort of the arm area. The shoulder pad here got some nice weathering on top, some metallic sort of scratches across it. Looks really nice. I think it might need heating up and bending over a little more, sort of bent over to fit the shoulder a bit more, because at the moment it's a bit like the Mad Max shoulder pad, which was a little bit it just wasn't curved enough so it fit over his shoulder as good. But again, there's not a lot of weathering. There could be a lot more dirt fitted around this part here where it was all dirty. So I'm definitely buying a weathering kit, and I'm gonna, you know, add a bit more light weathering to certain parts, especially that, which I wasn't bothered about. I was quite happy to do. And then of course you've got the strap that goes around the bicep with the tubing that comes all the way down. Perfectly designed. I think this might actually be Velcro. I'm not 100% certain. It feels like Velcro. So I'll be able to pull that off and maybe put a new body on there. Then the tubing comes all the way down to the arm here and sits in quite nicely. Some nice weathering on the back. Good bits here. As you can see, it goes all the way around. It cups into the arm really nicely. Some light scratching and weathering on the edges here, which they've done really well. And all the way around this sort of circular sort of bulbous bit. And it goes down into sort of like a piston style design of the forearm. And this appears to be like some sort of strap with a spanner attached to it to try and, you know, either protect it or keep it firm or reinforce it. But I think they could have done a little bit better with separating the colour here from the rest of the strap. There it comes down. We got lovely metallic wash and black wash all the way around this to dirty it up. Again, not enough dust in there, I don't think, but you just buy a Tamiya weathering kit with some brown dusts. They look like foundation powders and stuff, and you can just go in there and do that kind of thing. Then we come to the hand, and this hand is phenomenal. Well, I just pulled it off there just so I can. There's a magnet inside here, and it magnetizes to her arm, so that's good. And then of course we come down and we get this hand. And there's some lovely textures there in the fingers, some amazing textures here, some scratches and dents and bolts. And then the articulation in the main middle finger here is quite, not a lot, but there's enough there for you to move it around as you see fit. And then there's some articulation in the hand here. Be very careful. I'm trying to be careful because I could easily snap these straps if I'm not careful. Like I've pulled that out already. That needs to go back under. Like that. The thumb articulates as well. So it's not like she can't move this around and hold things. It's a really good shout. And then there's some strap in here. I'm not sure what this strap does. I'm not sure if this actually attaches to here and I'm supposed to do it once I've got this positioned as I like. I think that's probably why they left it loose. That's a good idea. So then you can position it as you see fit when you do it. And then she's got these pouches on the back of her belt, which are really good. They're real pleather pouches. They've got some padding on the inside, as you can see here. I need to bring that down and push that in there properly. But it did pop open a couple of times, so I'm not sure if it's going to be able to sit in there nicely or if it needs gluing. It's got this lovely strap part here. They could have just put a pleather strap all the way down the back, but they took the time and detail to weave in this protective pleather part here. And then we come down and the trousers go all the way around the back and the etching goes all the way around the back. Still nice weathering on the trousers, very much like Max. See, she's got dirt on the rear end here where she's sitting down or moving around and rolling about all the time. I also forgot to mention she comes with two hands. She comes with a gun holding hand with a trigger finger, and the hand she's holding already, which is a fist gripping hand. None others, I'm afraid. No closed fist, no open hand. That is a shame. There is a metal frame inside the body. I'm not entirely sure how much of this is. It feels like it's got plastic feet on the bottom, or plastic legs on the bottom, and maybe sort of a slightly metal frame up top. And because they had seamless arms, they had to go with a certain stock body that they told us that they use with a lot of their figures. And this is where it falls down a little bit. It's the size. It's just, everything just feels a little bit petite. If we were all in buying, I don't know, 1/7 scale figures, we'd all be gushing our hearts out for this thing. But unfortunately, this is supposed to be 1/6 scale, and Charlize Theron is probably about at least an inch taller than Tom Hardy. Or they're, you know, maybe she wears heels or whatever. But either way, they're at least the same size. And yet they decided to give her this tiny little body, which then dictated the size of the head, the size of the clothing, the size of the arm, and everything. But my God, the details in this figure are fantastic. I'm not even trying to like big this up as something that it shouldn't be. This ticks a lot of boxes. I mean, if this was just an inch taller and everything was just just almost a fraction bigger, I'd be going on about this being such a quality release. Unfortunately, it's been let down almost by its scale. I really don't know what VTS were thinking when they did that. They just shrank everything down. But I'm really hoping I can do something like maybe replace it with a Thyssen body that's a bit taller. I really hope I can, because it'd be really great to be able to get a Thyssen body onto this thing. I can weather that up and then everything else can fit quite nicely. Because if you can see, there are belts on there, but I think the belts are all sort of strapped up, and maybe you can undo them, I hope. And then, like, if we can't find an arm to fit into this hole here, we're buggered. But then, like, with the silicone, you could probably stuff it in there without too much bother. But look at the inside of that arm here, look. They've gone all the way around and done all the details inside this arm. Have a look. Even like the teeth on the inside for gripping and things like that. This is, I mean, they nailed it. Don't get me wrong. They nailed it with a lot of the detail. It's just that everything's just a little bit undersized. So when you stand here and you get her posed, excuse me for a second, I need to pull out here. That's what he said. I mean, this is her next to Max. And as you can see, the size difference is obvious. It really is. This is not supposed to be a small, petite little woman. This is supposed to be a woman that gets into a fight with that guy and damn near wins. And wow, ah. I'm gonna have a meltdown in a minute. I need to have a drink or something. Stand by. Okay, I'm back and I'm adequately lubricated. If we move her across, we're gonna put her against just a couple of my other female figures that I have. I don't have many, I'm afraid, which is why I really wanted Furiosa, because I genuinely thought what a badass character and what a great figure she would be next to all my other figures. But this is Ellen Ripley, and as we can see, there is somewhat of a height difference there. Even if I took Ellen off her stand, look at that, she's still taller. And I don't even think this stand is much higher. Okay guys, here she is next to Ellen Ripley and Black Widow. As you can see, the proportions are just... She's supposed to be bigger than the pair of them. Or at least on par with Ripley. And even some people have said that Ripley was undersized. So Furiosa is tiny. I don't know, maybe she should join the Lollipop Guild as opposed to, you know, a ragtag bunch of mercenaries in a post-apocalyptic world fighting Ravagers and fucking mutants. But what can I say, guys? Everything on this figure, like, it gets such a thumbs up, but the proportion is so small, it almost knocks everything down a scale. So I'm going to give this 6.5 out of 10. Everything on this figure is great. It's weathering, it's costume, it's head sculpt. It's just the paint of the head sculpt and the size and proportions of the figure really let this down. If she was at least the same height as Ripley, or, you know, was just slightly a bit bigger, she'd be like at least on par with Man Max. She'd be a 9 out of 10. And that's, I know that's, like, some people would say, no way is she worth a 9 out of 10, even if she was the right proportions. But to me, she ticks almost every single box that I would want from a Furiosa figure, except for the height and proportions. And that's where this figure is let down. Okay guys, that's it for now. Like and subscribe, and if you could just all do me a favour, if you could just get the fuck out of my cave, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot guys. Bye bye.